I was in a place of, I would say, like functional depression. I grew up in a community where most everybody was Mormon. I was reading all the self help books, listening to all the podcasts, leaving my religion devoutly, praying, reading scriptures. I was just stuck. Over and over again, we saw these transformative experiences of the people who had done it, healing experience. I actually just gave birth to myself. To have that kind of gift given to me, almost like a restart, a new woman, a new existence. I am so grateful for that. And it's changed the trajectory of my life. I grew up in a community where most everybody was Mormon, just like me. And so I didn't know what it felt like to not be Mormon. Mormonism growing up in it really provided me a beautiful structure, community, and support growing up with kids who are like me, church leaders who really supported me and cheered me on. And my family really gave me beautiful values. I would say I really got my morals and values from my parents, my family versus the church. And so growing up within that religion, from like young, and then into college, it really kind of shaped like who I was and informing me of some beautiful things of being connected to God, being a daughter of God. And looking back, it also really influenced me in this is my experience. And really, I didn't see it when I was in Mormonism as this, but earning my worthiness, earning my connection to God through doing all the right things, doing all the things I'm asked to do. I mean, meeting my husband in college, he's also devout Mormon, and just getting to the temple. There's like a checklist that's involved with things standards that I have to meet. And so I think it informed my identity in like working hard, staying diligent, being consistent, devotion to God, my religion, my faith. And I use that now, but in a different direction. And so I think there's some really beautiful things that it has that still stays with me, that connection to God. But there's honestly some things that I've had to um, let go of that weren't serving me anymore, that I grew up with in the church.
How did you go from being so devoted to seeking plant medicine?
The place I was in my life, I was really looking for something just radically different. And so I did ayahuasca 4 years ago, and it doesn't feel like that. As we were talking, like when I read about it and tell about it, it feels like I'm just right there again. But the place that I was in to like cross that line that you talked about, I was in a place of, I would say, like functional depression. So getting things done because I had to. I had four younger kids. I was married. I was in the busyness of life. I was homeschooling my kids, and I just needed something different. I mean, I was reading all the self-help books, listening to all the podcasts, leaving my religion devoutly, praying, reading scriptures, and I was just stuck. And my husband was too. And so he started actually researching psychedelics and came across ayahuasca. And we started watching all the documentaries. And I think the thing that really pulled us to it was the sacredness of ayahuasca and the intention that goes in to this plant medicine. And over again, we saw these transformative experiences of the people who had done it, healing experiences. I mean, they say it's like 10 years of therapy in 3 nights. And it certainly was to me, but we'll get that. And so I was coming from a place of like, I need to shift. I'm trying and doing all the things I know how to do. I can't shift. And I didn't even know what that shift was, Matt. I really didn't, but I could just feel that there was something else. And so my husband decided to go to ayahuasca, and he did it for 3 nights. And we had some pretty amazing experiences of when he came home, actually during ayahuasca. He was there in Tucson and I was here, and some pretty amazing experiences that we can explain of being energetically connected to that. And through his experience, I was like, okay, yeah, it's my turn. It's my turn. And so that was the big leap. That was the big crossover. And I should say, to give context, this was during COVID, like the great reset for everybody, right? And so during this time of like being on lockdown, I mean, I was no longer driving my kids 20 hours a week. I was no longer homeschooling. I wasn't doing church. I wasn't doing all the things. And all of a sudden, I had time to think. And all of the issues I had, all the policies, the doctrine that I always had issues with in the Mormon church, I'd put them up on the shelf. Like, "Mm, I don't believe in it, but I'll be the change within the church. I'll be the cultural change. I'll be the grassroots roots level change." And so COVID really slowed down life for me. It probably did for you too. And so with that slowdown, it really gave me time to think. And I was like, hey, I'm not really missing church. I miss the people. And then I started just thinking about church and like, hey, what's going on here if I'm not really missing this? And then ayahuasca came in and it was like, okay, then my husband went. And then it was like, okay, it's my turn to go, like 4 months later. And so I think just giving myself the space and permission to do something like that was really big because I had never drank before. I had never smoked. I had never done cannabis, like nothing. And I went straight to grandmother. I don't recommend that for everybody. But if you feel called to do it, do it. But it's definitely a calling. And so, to your question, did I have fear coming into ayahuasca? I was definitely nervous. But for me, doing doing it with intention and really preparing to be there in that medicine, I soon felt like I'm ready or I'm prepared to be there. And the nerves kind of don't go away because I kind of think if you're not a little bit nervous, you probably don't know what you're getting yourself into. And so through my preparation, I did combo, which helped me prepare for it. I was already meditating and I had already started researching chakras and energy work and grounding. And so I was really already starting to move away from like my dogma and really finding my own spirituality and just felt really pulled and called to do ayahuasca for 3 nights.
Given how close knit the Mormon community is, did you tell anyone?
I wasn't going to tell anyone. No one. I mean, my husband and I knew, and some close friends knew about it, and because they were going to go do it too. But yeah, at the time, this was like such a no-no. Like, you're going to go and do what? And it's a psychedelic. So that's like open eye, close eye visuals, open up your energetic channels. Like, no, I didn't want to share that with anyone. And really, to be honest, I didn't want the judgment. I didn't want the judgment. I didn't want the criticism. And going into this felt really sacred and really personal. So part of that is that I didn't want to keep it secret, but I wanted to keep it sacred. The other part too is that if you do plant medicine, depending on who your leadership is within the church, there can be consequences for doing it, depending on who your leader is or your bishop or your congregation. I don't, that's kind of leadership roulette. Depends on who's in charge and how they feel about that. And so I really didn't want to know, I didn't want other people to know what I was doing because it was against the rules, against the doctrine. And so I thought I will share this with close friends only. I mean, I didn't even tell like my family of origin. I didn't tell parents, I didn't tell siblings until like 3 years ago when I did my first podcast about this. And so, I mean, it's been a journey to share this. And part of it was really sacred. And I didn't want to be judged after leaving the church. I didn't want to be judged like, oh, she left the church because she did drugs. And I really have come through the process of like, I just have to be okay being misunderstood. And that's definitely been a process for me, like layer by layer by layer. And then I just don't want to come out and share that I did ayahuasca. I want it to be organic. And so initially, no, the plan was like, we're only going to share this with two of our friends because they know about it and that's it.
What differences did you notice with your husband after his experience?
So some of the difference I noticed about him. Well, I first want to say, every night he'd go into ayahuasca and then the next morning he'd call and check in and report about his first experiences. And so I would eagerly await that phone call at 7:30 in the morning to see how it went. And hearing his experiences of like really allowing himself to see the dark that's inside of him, like those shadow aspects, those blind spots that we all have. I was really inspired by his courage to really look at that and then to sit with it. And then outside of the ceremony, then integrate those changes. And so the differences I saw in him, there was there was more peace with him. I could see that there was this connection to the unseen world that he believed in. He's very analytical, very logical. And so for him to grasp on more to the spirituality aspect, because things happen in ayahuasca that you cannot explain, the ineffable. And for him to start gravitating more towards that spirituality and a softening with him, he was more present with me and the kids. And I could just see this evolution in him happening. Like, I want more of this. I want more peace in my life. I want more groundedness and more like the magic. I want the ineffable in my life, and I welcome that. And just seeing him still integrating that and doing his own work, he's kind of a hard sell. He's kind of skeptical, which is good. And so when I saw the changes in him in that way, I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm in. He just became a better husband, a better dad. He was already great, but he became better for sure. And so I was like, yeah, I want that. I want what he's having. And really like, but then to be able to have that common experience in our marriage and that common language, I mean, it's just taken our relationship beyond what it ever was, what I dreamed it could be.
Yeah, that's amazing. Walk us through your first ceremony.
Well, the first night, I mean, you really have to be careful with who you choose to go to. So I really love to say before we do any of this, set and setting is pivotal. So know who your facilitators are, how many people will be there, what do they do. So we've done all that research. And so, I mean, the first night going into it, I was pretty nervous. I did not know what to expect. I mean, you go in there into ceremony that first night and I go there and it's in the mountains of Oracle and it's with a church that's done here in Arizona, so it's legal. And you go in there and you meet people like, "Oh, how many times have you sat?" And I'm like, "This is my first." "Oh, great. Have you had any other psychedelic experiences?" And it's like, "No, this is it." And I would get mixed reactions like, "Oh, okay. Good for you," or like, "Okay, sending you so much love and energy." Like it was kind of interesting to see the mixed reactions I got. And then telling them I was Mormon. Actually, everybody was like very cool about that. No one was like, "Oh, you're not going to be Mormon after this." So going to that first ceremony, I should mention, like, I had no plan of leaving Mormonism. I was like, I've always been that progressive, nuanced Mormon. I'm like the change, I'm the grassroots. People come to me for help with the Mormonism. Like, how do you live this religion? How do you do it? So I had all intentions of doing ayahuasca and still be fully participating within that religion. And so that first night, um, ayahuasca is interesting because it's a tea. So it comes from the vine, from the shrub, and they brew it into this tea. And so I drank it, and the group that I do it with, we drink around midnight or 1 a.m. So you come up with the sunrise out of the medicine. Yeah, I didn't know it was going to be that late. So, um, so I drank my first cup. I didn't feel anything. I actually had to go back for a second cup. Went back and immediately I became so relaxed, almost like in that liminal state. My body became so heavy. And I remember just experiencing the deepest relaxation of my entire life, my entire life. And I just remember it was like this voice coming in. Before I came into ayahuasca, I really committed or started really communicating with grandmother ayahuasca. You know, she's known as that feminine spirit, almost the feminine of Gaia, that beautiful earth energy, Mother Earth energy. And I remember saying to her, like, I want, please let this go slow so it can be awake and understand. And so this voice came into me. It was like, Tiff, this is like, just relax. Just be. You've been in survival mode for so long, doing, going from one thing to the next. Just like, let me hold you. And so it was a really, first of all, it was a really beautiful experience. I didn't think it would be like that. Really no visuals in the beginning. Soon after, I started to get these little like visuals. And so you can have open eye visuals where things are like moving or you're seeing things, or closed eye visuals, right? And for me, those closed eye visuals are like right there for people who are unfamiliar with that. I don't know. Same with you, Matt. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just right there. And I mean, I'll just do some takeaways, but I had some really beautiful visions of each four of my children and just seeing them from like baby to growing up. And then just feeling this immense love. And I knew I loved my kids, but when you're in the medicine like that, it's like cellularly, like you feel that love with every cell of your body. It's visceral. And different ways I can connect with each of my kids. I have four of them, 21 to 14, three boys and a girl. They were younger then, but so connecting with their energies and then connecting with my husband and seeing like these gold links that came together like this and couldn't be pulled apart. And it was like soulmates, bonded for life, which was just really beautiful. And it was these beautiful messages. And I kind of, it's like you go into like these journeys or these visionary states for maybe 20, 30, 40 minutes and you kind of come out of it. And so, you can like talk to people, you're with it enough. And so I knew, okay, I'm starting to come out of the medicine. So I took a third cup. Yeah. And so this third cup was then a different experience because I hadn't felt the nausea then or the discomfort yet. So in comes the nausea. And I was like, oh boy, okay, here we go. This is what I've heard about. And just kind of on instinct or reflex, I just started really breathing deeply through it, in and out. And with each breath in and out, would kind of the nausea would dissipate. And I was like, well, what is this? Because I've watched enough that usually when I'm feeling something, like what's the energy behind it? What are the thoughts? And probably for the next couple of hours, it was just on repeat that I had been avoiding all the discomfort of my life for so long. And I don't know if you can relate to this or perhaps your readers can, but like scrolling, numbing things out, distracting myself, stuffing those feelings down, like I don't want to deal with that right now. And so the purpose of this then was really like, oh, I've got to feel all that stuff. All that stuff that I've been feeling and discarding and ignoring is coming up. So like, okay, breathe through it. And I knew enough and like researching that's like, okay, kind of feel it and breathe through it. And so Matt, it was really like 2 to 3 hours of just like breathing through discomfort and feeling the energy surge and then come out my body. And so that first night really was, um, first of all, I think making me feel safe with grandmother ayahuasca, with that relaxation, that reset, feeling the love of my family, relating to me in a way I can understand with that love. And then really kind of like, okay, we're going to ease you into this because before like all the good stuff can come, it's time to process. It's time to breathe through what's here and to release some of this. And I knew I was releasing. And it was just a message of like, yeah, all that discomfort that you never let yourself sit with. This is it, sister. Like, this is it. And so that was my first night. I feel like it was just, and it was a surrendering. I just kept saying trust and surrender. So that was the first night. Not pivotal, but set a really important foundation for the rest of the other 2 nights.
How are you feeling going into the second night?
So the second night it was a lot. And I was kind of waiting for like, my intention, I should have said that my intention for this was teach me how to love myself, which coming to ayahuasca was admittedly embarrassing for me to admit. because it was like I like parts of myself, but not all of myself. And my inner critic was really strong. And so coming into that second night, I was like, okay, what did that have to do with my intention? Like, let's get to my intention, please. And grandmother ayahuasca was like, okay, it's coming. It's coming. And so that second night I came into it and I quickly dropped into it, had more beautiful, went straight into visuals this time, had more beautiful visuals of like my family and messages surrounding them, how I can be a better mom, a better wife, a better person. Um, and then it was really interesting that I had this vision of all of my reproductive system. And I saw like my fallopian tubes, and I saw my uterus, and I saw all the different parts of myself. And I was like, well, what is this? And this is like a conversation I'm having with grandma ayahuasca. And she was like, yeah, this is your reproductive system. She's like, this is your sacred womb. And the womb is really like your sacral chakra, which is where we hold our emotions, sexuality, sensuality, desires, passions, creativity. I mean, it's our most complex chakra. And as I was feeling that, I could feel the energy within my womb, my sacral, really igniting in kind of this fire. And it was beautiful because I saw this and I was like, well, what do I do with this? And she was like, appreciate it. And I said, well, how do I appreciate it? And she said, honor it. And Matt, it was like the craziest thing. All of a sudden, all my reproductive organs became like these like Macy's Day Parade, like float balloons. And there was like the confetti falling down. And it was just this beautiful celebration of like my feminine energy and like my body and my temple. And then it has grown and housed four beautiful babies. And it was a really beautiful sacral ceremony of connecting into that divine feminine energy, which I had been craving. Within the Mormon church, you don't hear a lot about feminine energy or see it. I mean, you maybe hear Heavenly Mother, but not much. And I was craving that connection to that divine energy, feminine energy. And so to receive that and to feel that through my whole body was such a gift, such a gift. And so I went up and got my second cup after that. And I had known one of the facilitators, I had talked to her before, and she said, hey, if you get stuck or need help, come to me and I'll give you hape. And, for people who aren't familiar with hape, it's an Amazonian like tobacco snuff with ashes and sacred herbs. And it comes in like an instrument like this. And then you can self-administer it like that. Or if it's really long, someone blows it from their mouth into your nose. And it's a way to either ground you, get you unstuck, but it's used for purpose, sacred purposes. And so she's like, if you get stuck, come do hape. So I do my second cup and I lay back down because there's mats, so you lay back down. And all of a sudden I can just feel this energy building. And I'm like, oh, what is happening? What's happening? This is new. I've heard about this. What is it? And so I go back to like first night, like I'll just breathe through it. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Nothing's like happening. So I go to the bathroom and I look in the mirror. And I'm like, what's going on? And I look in the mirror and my face splits in two. And I just said in the mirror, I said, I put my hands on the sink and I'm like, I'm trying to connect to you. I'm trying to connect to you. And this voice just came in and said, I know. I'm introducing you tonight. We'll take it slow. It's okay. So I said, okay. And I feel like that was like my intuition, grandmother, and ayahuasca coming through and really guiding me. So I go and I lay back down my mat and I'm still feeling this energy. And all of a sudden it was just like, hape, get up and do hape. And I was like, no way. That is going to be way too much in my system. I don't dare do that. And I was this battle in my head. And it was all of a sudden my body mat, I just like sat up on its own. And it was like, go do it. And I was like, okay. So I ceremoniously like put my hair back in a ponytail, roll up my sleeves, and it was like, this is it. This is the work. You want to love yourself? let's go. So I walk over to the facilitator and I said, I need help. And she just said, I know, it's time. So I sat down with her and they administer it one nostril at a time. And she blows it up into my left nostril. And it is like my left ear cracks open. And this energy just comes shooting out the left side of my crown. And it was so overwhelming. I mean, it was like this giant release, just went, and I lay down in her lap and I just started sobbing, sobbing. And I said, what is this? And she said, you're releasing right now. Just let it be. And I sobbed and sobbed, the hardest I've ever cried in my life, in her lap. And she just held me. And then she's like, okay, well, it's time to do the other nostril now. And I was like, we have the other side to do. Like, are you serious? This was so big. And it's like, okay, let's do it. And just as they did that, this group I play with, they have live music and they sing to it and they have guitar and they have drums and hand pans and flutes and they sing Ikaros, which that music and the medicine guides you. It gives you guideposts. And the divine timing of this, I still cannot get over. These are things you can't explain. So they start playing this song and they're singing it in Spanish, and I'm not paying attention to it yet. And I take the hoppy in the other nostril. And now I can feel the energy coming out of my right side, my left side, and it's coming out of my fingertips. And I just said, what is this? And she's like, it's your energy. And I had never made that connection before. And being Mormon, Matt, I have to say, I had prided myself on never saying the F word ever. And I am sitting there and I'm feeling I am sloughing off layers off of me, Matt. And it is literally like all the shoulds. Who I should be, who I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to look like, what I'm supposed to do, what other people have told me to do, that I've agreed to do without ever considering, is this right or wrong for me? It was this layers coming off of me, physically, energetically, emotionally. I can't even explain it. I try and I can't, but I could feel it coming off my body. And I said to her, this is so effing insane. And I was like, wait, no, this is so effing insane. It's the most sane thing in my life. And I find it so funny, almost cute in a way that it was like that F word was such an act of rebellion for me. That just tells you, like, I was a real follower, you know? And so to have that experience of like releasing years and years of all these expectations that I'd put on myself, that I'd allowed other people to put on myself, that I've allowed this religion, society to then just say, F it, I'm done. And in comes the song. And the song, it's Nessie Gomez, all related. Look it up, everybody. It's the most beautiful song. And she starts singing about that divine feminine energy. And I've lost my knowing. And I just start to sob because I'm like, that's it. That's why I'm here. I've lost my inner knowing. I've lost my inner knowing. That's the self-love I'm looking for. And so she sends me back to my mat. I crawl back and had just the most beautiful visions of like having my ancestors, all the females behind me supporting me and loving me in that moment. And so that was really big. And coming back to that mat, a different woman than I was just that day, just 30 minutes ago, completely transformed and feeling such bliss and complete and peace I've never felt my entire life, ever. I couldn't even put a word to it. And I laid there and they played music, and I really would just kind of come in and out and felt so deeply rested and peaceful.
Thanks for sharing. What was the next day like for you?
Like, okay, what was that? And now I am so energetically sensitive. So all of a sudden, Matt, it's like I can physically feel the energy moving through my body now. It can feel like an electric hum. I could feel it gathering in different parts of my body, maybe low back, stomach, and I could feel it. And then I could feel the energy of everybody else around me, which was a little concerning because all of a sudden I was like, oh, like I can feel this with them. And then talking to him, it would be that, yes, that's what like they're feeling and going through. Because I would share with people, probably like you kind of process with other people through the day. So feeling my energy on a whole new energetic level was really big for me. And then it really got me thinking of like, what have I agreed to without ever like considering it and just agreeing it and then doing it, showing up in my life that way because I just agreed to it. So it really got me going to like, well, what do I agree with then? And what don't I agree with? So it felt really empowering too, to be able to like actually have a new lens of like, I don't have to do everything that's brought my way that I thought I had to. And then just in the back of my mind, kind of going, well, what I just experienced, I've never experienced that at church or in the Mormon temple or in my own private experiences. I mean, I had no words for that. And so it really just kind of got me processing. And then it was like I would feel uncomfortable during the day and I would breathe through it. So then it was like, okay, whatever feels uncomfortable, go there, breathe through it. And then if there's a message to it, listen to it. And then my intuition was just like, it was downloads and downloads. So the intuition and the clear knowing and clear hearing in a way, like intuitive abilities started coming through.
What was your last ceremony like?
The third night going into that, I was like, okay, I can see different ways I can love myself now. And I really like, what else is there? Like that was pretty big. And so I just thought, okay, just be curious and trust and surrender. Because at this point, Matt, too, and probably with your experience, when you lean into the discomfort, when you lean into the resistance, on the other side, well, through that is growth. And on the other side of that is this internal freedom and awareness that is so worth maybe being uncomfortable or nervous. And so with having those 2 nights, going into the third night, I was like, whatever comes my way, I'm doing it because I know what it does for me in the end. And so that was really big coming into the third night. And so I just really said, teach me and show me whatever else you need to show me to love myself. And so coming into that third night, it really was, it was like one of the greatest nights of my life. And not to say that it was easy. I took that first cup and man, things got rocking and rolling. I mean, heart rate up. I was feeling hot. I was feeling nauseous, so much energy coming through my body very quickly. And I think it was like, okay, you've done these other 2 nights. Let's go. And so I was trying all my coping stuff. I was trying to breathe through it. I was standing up, moving, doing all the different things, and I was stuck. And I was really starting to panic and then kind of starting to resist it because it's like, I don't know where this is going. I'm really nervous about this. Even though it's like, okay, trust and surrender, my body couldn't get online. And so it was starting to form kind of this chasm a little bit of like my soul knowing what to do, but my body just like, uh-uh. So I was like, okay, I got to get help. I got to get help. So I went to one of the facilitators and I just walked up to her and I'd been talking to her. So I had built a relationship with her and I was like, I'm stuck. I need help. And that was everything in ayahuasca is a lesson. I'm like, I don't ask for help very often. And so it's like, ask for help. And so she really like tried to get me in my body, tried helping me breathe. And as I kept breathing, it just was not helping. And without even knowing it, I started going into the breath I use when I go into labor. And I have given birth to all 4 of my babies with no medicine through hypnobirthing. And all of a sudden, once I recognized like I'm making kind of these kind of guttural sounds with breath and really getting in my body, I was like, what's happening here? Like, this is what I do to like give birth. And so once I started catching on to that, it started to help. But the energies were still coming. And all of a sudden, I was like, what is this? Like, what am I supposed to do? And it was like, all that stuff? that you thought you've been releasing this entire time. You have been, you know, all those decades of like the chronic stress, the traumas, capital T, lowercase t traumas, all that stuff that's collected in your body, time to get it out. This is it. This is what you're doing. And I was like, okay, here we go. Like, pretty scared. I ended up going outside because I was like, I need space, I need air. So we went outside and I just resumed. I mean, we're outside, we're in the forest, we're in like southern Tucson or Arizona, but we're up in the Oracle Mountains. And so, like, the stars are there, it's crisp, clear air, grounding myself into the dirt with Mother Earth, Mother Ayahuasca. And it was like, you're going to give birth to this release. And I was like, okay, that's great. But like, when I do that, usually like at the end of that, there's like a baby that comes out. So, what is this going to look like? How will I know to do this? And it was like, trust your body. You've given forth to birth to four babies. This entire ceremony has been body work for you, trusting your body and coming back to your inner knowing. This is it. Trust yourself, trust your intuition. And so it was probably 30 minutes or so. And I just started like in that squat position and swaying like I would in birth and feeling myself shake. And it was like this crescendo of energy building up, building up. And all of a sudden it was just like release. And I fell back on my back and I was looking up at the stars. And this energy, this overwhelm, gone, gone. And in its absence was pure peace, pure bliss, pure wholeness. I couldn't even describe it. And just this immense amount of gratitude just came flowing into my body, flowing in for my body, for what it does for me, for being here on earth, for being born, for my family, for my husband, for my kids, everything. And I tried labeling it like, oh, this must feel like God or Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother. It didn't work. What I felt in that moment was beyond language, beyond words, something I'd never experienced in my entire life. And in witnessing that and feeling that, again, like I'm a different woman, I'm a different person. I mean, it's the ineffable, but to feel that energy flowing through your body is something that is hard to describe because you're a different person cellularly, viscerally, energetically, emotionally, all planes. I'm a different person, different energies. And so it was beautiful. I went back inside after giving birth. And, you know, I do like, but to capitalize on that, it wasn't just birthing, but I do remember thinking, I just gave birth to the most beautiful purge of my life. And then afterwards, as I thought about it, I was like, no, I actually just gave birth to myself. I just gave birth to a brand new existence for myself. And to have that kind of gift given to me, almost like a restart, a new woman, a new existence, I am so grateful for that. And it's changed the trajectory of my life. And I went back in that bathroom where I had said earlier in day two, I'm trying to connect with you. And I went back in that bathroom and I stared and my face just became fuzzy. And I can't even explain it. It was like it became fuzzy and it just became light. And I just kept saying Ram Dass, his words came to myself, came to me, and it was just, I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. And then it became, I am, I am, I am. And coming out of that ceremony of 3 nights, that's still one of my mantras. I am loving awareness. I am. And that loving awareness is bringing loving parts to all aspects of myself now. And I'll be honest, sometimes I don't always love all those parts of myself, but I eventually get there because I'm a human. And so that loving awareness is loving all parts of myself. And so my intention of teach me how to love myself really came through. But it was, you have to, it's like the courage has to override the fear. And I found that being brave just means that you keep stepping through the fear. The fear may not go away, but can I be courageous and still keep stepping through it? Because I know on the other side of that, it's worth it. And there's that internal freedom and awareness that's there that is so worth it. And so that was my first 3-night ceremony that I did. And I was excited to come back to my family. I was also nervous because I didn't want to forget this. And I wanted to be this woman who I was in ceremony in my everyday life. And so my work really has been to integrate then, as important as that 3-night ceremony is with any experience, how am I going to integrate that in my everyday life? And so then that became the journey of like integrating this experience, which is more important to me than ceremony.
How did you integrate everything when you came back home?
Coming out of a ceremony, it was definitely, I kept up my meditation practice. I mean, that's helpful for anyone, just to be able, the ability to sit with yourself and creating that awareness. And then with that awareness, I had energy flowing through me now. So part of my integration was meditation, but then energy work. And so feeling like, where is the energy at? Sitting with the discomfort if it feels uncomfortable or if it feels great. And then really taking a next step layer of like, well, what's here then? What's the message with it? And so part of my integration was connecting into my body, into my inner knowing. I got therapy and I went to a therapist who's familiar with psychedelics and helping people through that because that's important. You want a therapist who knows the benefits of it and it's not automatically like, no, that's drugs. Like ayahuasca is such an intentional medicine to heal. And if you're going there to have fun, good luck. So, meditation, connecting to my energy, connecting to my body and to my intuition, and then getting therapy, which was just helping me then. How do I reconcile what I experienced in 3 nights of ayahuasca cannot compete with 43 years of religion for me? So, how do I reconcile that? And so, part of my integration was then like deconstructing the parts of my religion that weren't working for me anymore. And I still was fully intending on being an active Mormon. And so I was really trying to integrate with being Mormon, and that's okay. But the more I started integrating and really deciding, well, what do I agree with? What doctrines and commandments and policies? I'm not on board with those anymore. And I used to ignore them, and I kind of can't anymore. And then COVID, it was at the end of COVID. So then we were back into church for the first time after over a year. And coming back to church, and I was able to recognize the beautiful service that's provided within the Mormon church of serving one another. The support in the community that there is really beautiful. But then hearing the messages from the leaders and my experience is that it just felt so fear-based and control-based. And I just had this amazing experience that you told me not to do. And it has changed my life. But you're telling me that I can't. And so it was really this deconstruction of what I no longer could believe anymore. Um, and so that really, through my integration, it really led then down the path of like, I can no longer participate in Mormonism. It's no longer aligned with me intuitively and in my heart. And I shared that with my husband. I shared my process the whole time. He'd been researching Mormonism for years and knew the history, but had just stayed in for hope of being the change or that change was coming. And so when I said, okay, this intuitively does not feel right and in my heart, but if I'm going to leave this religion, because leaving Mormonism for me, it was part of my identity, it's definitely part of my community and my family. So that's asking me to question a lot and to deconstruct a lot. So I said, okay, if this isn't feeling right, I want to know all the church history. I want to know what's out there. and I want to intellectually know too. So not just in my heart, my mind. And so he gave me the information and I devoured it and I read it. And I was like, I can't do this. And the moment I questioned whether this church was for me, because I'd never allowed myself to do that. Never, ever, ever. Like, question the church is like true that it's that I shouldn't go. Never. I mean, the cognitive dissonance was huge. And so just even asking that question to myself was nearly a panic attack because I knew. I knew. And I've been holding on to, well, there's the church and there's the culture, and they're different. And once I realized finally that they're not, and that my identity of being the one that makes church work and helping people do it and being the nuanced progressive Mormon, once I realized that that was like futile, then what is there? That was the only thing holding me there. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so I would say, I mean, my husband was pivotal and helped me support this and integrate this because he had done it too. And for those who don't have anybody like a spouse, that's okay. But do you have like a friend or a therapist that you can talk to? Because you really need help to integrate this. There's a lot that you can go through, and it can really shake up your world if you're not prepared for it. But I'm so grateful for it. So grateful for the shakeup. Um, and then, yeah, Reiki came in probably 4 months later. My therapist recommended that I go do Reiki, which is an energy, a Japanese energy modality. Because I was like, how do I manage and work with this energy that I feel everywhere? And I kind of cocooned myself. Thankfully, it was COVID, so I could, but I was so overwhelmed with it that I was like, I need help working with it. And so then she introduced me to Reiki.
For people who might not know, can you explain what Reiki is?
Yeah, my therapist introduced me to it. She sent me to someone, and I was telling her about it, and she held up tuning forks that were a frequency to each chakra. And so she said, close your eyes. I'm going to put this tuning fork up to your ears, and you tell me which chakra it's attuned to. And so when I did that, and I got every chakra right, we have 7 major chakras. She was like, holy smokes, yeah. Let's get you some help with this energy. So I went and got Reiki done, which is an ancient Japanese healing modality that really is intentionally bringing in life force energy, which is all around us and in us. But do we know how to intentionally use it to help balance our energy centers or our chakras? So it really helps the energy flow within your body. That's what Reiki does. And so I was like, yes, I want to do that. So I went and had my first session done to me, and that experience brought me almost right back to Aya. I mean, I could feel the energy coming through me in a really beautiful, supportive way. And to have somebody else shift my energy instead of me always doing it for myself, I loved it. And so she was like, well, start with Reiki level 1, which is self Reiki, and start learning your instrument, which is my body. And I was like, yeah. And so this was also part of my integration of Aya. So I'm like simultaneously deconstructing, and then Reiki comes in and is bringing this spiritual scaffolding for me. Because Reiki is not a religion, but it's really a spiritual practice of energy work. And so I feel really lucky in the way that I was deconstructing and reconstructing at the same time. And pretty soon it became more reconstructing. And then through that, because Reiki was so transformative for me, because I was really allowing myself to sit with my body, sit with the energy that's there, learning how to shift and move that energy to help me, help with stress, help with worry, help me connect to my inner knowing, intuition, and intuitive abilities. And it was helping me heal. It was helping me process blind spots, excuse me, that would come to me. How do I work with this energetically? So it's not just all mindset or in the word or mindset, but really bringing the energy with the mindset. And so from there, I was like, I want to help others with their energy. And so then that's when I became a Reiki practitioner and I started my business. And then I was called to become a Reiki master teacher, which means that now not only do I do one-on-one Reiki sessions with people, but then I teach people how to become Reiki practitioners also. And so I really love Reiki and I love teaching it because I really want to help people know that they are their own self healers and that really I'm just there to help assist and walk side by side with them in this journey. And so it's Reiki is a really beautiful way if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling anxiousness, if you're feeling depression, sadness, chronic pain, if you feel like there's more potential you're not meeting, energy can help be the catalyst to shift you into those places. It can help shift what's no longer helping you, serving you, and then bringing in energy to support those changes. And so, what I love to do with people is I help them shift those energies, but then I want to integrate, just like I did with plant medicine and ayahuasca. I want to help you integrate the energy of that session. So, what does that look like for you in your everyday life with these new energies and these new insights that have come through? How do we integrate that and really like empower people to their self healing and their own self awareness? And so, yeah, through that path, now I trained in Sedona last summer for 3 weeks for more hands on healing modalities and became a breathwork practitioner. That's led me down the path to become a trauma and resilience life coach. And so, what my sessions look like in the beginning to now are quite different. And so now it's a lot more like energy work with the coaching, with the mindset, nervous system regulation, all to really help people build their inner sanctuary and really to help them come back home to themselves.
With plant medicine and all of your experiences, how would you say it changed how you see the world?
So, do you have like another 10 hours? Oh, yeah. I mean, all of that. I mean, to speak to all of that, it really, ayahuasca or whatever plant medicine, or it can even happen in breath work, even. I feel like it really acts, these modalities act as a bridge to accessing the unseen world because that unseen world is really energy and energy is all around us. And so it's developing the awareness of feeling that energy, seeing that energy, hearing that energy, or just knowing that energy. Those are those intuitive abilities. And knowing that there's so much beyond what we physically see has opened up my world. I'm sure it has for you too. And that there are energies, there are things beyond what we can see that influence and guide and support us in our life. And so I have found a lot of support in knowing that it's not just me or even just the physical people around here that are guiding me and supporting me. And I mean, you can call it angels, divine guides, ascended masters, who I think of as like Jesus and Buddha. But I think what's for me, once I opened up to the world beyond the scene, then it expanded my world immensely and infinitely. Um, and then also the reality that I see, the other part of your question is it's just a perspective and it's actually not always true. And that the lens that each of us see is through our own personal lenses. And so in a weird way, it's like, well, what is reality? I mean, we have this reality between you and I right now, but it's like how I'm seeing through it and how you're seeing through it. But what we're really doing is we're connecting through the energy of one another. And to me, the energy is what's really real. And so, really being able to connect to the energy that's around us is the realest thing for me, whether it's seen or unseen. And so, this expanded my spirituality completely because I didn't really grow up with a lot of that in Mormonism. I mean, there was some talk of like angels, but I never really could connect to it. And I think part of my spirituality was that I had apostles and prophets in leadership that would speak to God for me. And so part of ayahuasca really was then, oh, no, no, no. I actually have that direct connection to God, to source, to universe, whatever you want to call it. And so that expanded me spiritually so much so because I was no longer like having to earn it through worthiness to feel that connection. That's just always there. We come with that. And so that was really expensive,
What do you think the biggest misconception is about plant medicine?
that it will heal you. I mean, it has that ability. I'm not going to take away from that. And I think that people really need to be discerning. I think people need to go, it would be wise to use plant medicine with intention. That's the only way I use it. And so having an intention going into plant medicine, what is it that you're wanting to get out of it? And also noticing that plant medicine doesn't really bring anything to you. It doesn't give anything to you. It just shows you what's there. It brings up what's there. And I think people maybe think that you want to take plant medicine just for kicks and giggles or for fun and recreation. Sure, you can do that. But I think the purpose of it is much deeper than that. And I think that's what we're seeing now, as we're seeing people waking up to that, realizing it, that there is a lot of self-healing that is done. I think plant medicine helps you heal yourself. It's not the healer, but it helps you heal yourself. And we're starting to see that now, that with done with intention in the right set and setting. So is it in the right mindset? Who's there with you? Is someone facilitating with you, guiding you through it? Are you being safe with it? That it has beautiful results. I mean, you can go to Johns Hopkins and all the work that they've done with psilocybin, and for people who are at the end of life, and how that takes away anxiety, takes away their depression, their sadness. You can go to MAPS, who's done great work with MDMA and veterans with the resistant treatment PTSD, and they're seeing great results with MDMA, all done within intention, therapeutic setting, and being guided. And so I think we're starting to come out of that age of like, yeah, it's a type 2 controlled substance. And, that Timothy Leary quote of like, I can't remember, tune in and tune out and drop out, right? Like there's this research in plant medicine and psychedelics where it's like, no, no, just tune in.
If you could go back and talk to your younger self, what would you say?
I would look back, I would tell her to honor where you are, be with who you are, and it's okay. And your best looks different every day. And I would tell her to just keep moving forward like she did. I wouldn't tell her to do anything different because what happened, happened, which means it was perfect. And to keep moving forward and to just trust. And I would tell anyone else, trust wherever you are and to ask, ask God, ask universe, ask source. I need help. I need help. And when we say that with intention and love and sincerity, guidance comes. Those cosmic breadcrumbs, they come. So tune in. And I would say that's exactly what I did. And so it's just honoring all parts of myself when I look back on that, even now. Like I look back and I have so much gratitude for her. My gosh, she was trying so hard. And when I finally put out the call that I need help, it came in. And it may not be for plant medicine. That's not for everybody. But what I'm learning through the different modalities that I've done, that can come through, yes, traditional talk therapy, but it can come through breath work. It can come through regulating your nervous system, coming back home to yourself. It can come through energy work. It can come through coaching. There's so many different things. So follow those little breadcrumbs. Like, maybe I should try that. Listen to it. That interests me. Listen to that. Because your interest, there's purpose in that. And where you're interested, there's information. And that's how we can listen to those messages and move forward through whatever it is that we're going through.